Okay, today we talk about thyroid hormone and its action. So this video is on the hypothalamic-pituitary-axis. So we'll talk about thyroid hormone and its actions. Okay, so it's part of the molecular endocrinology class. The objectives are to understand iodine's role in thyroid synthesis and the actions of thyroid hormones on growth and development. Because we know that there are so many diseases that are related to thyroid hormone malfunctions, either hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. So we will also like to understand those various receptors involving these hypothalamic-pituitary-thyroid-axis in the mechanism of control and malfunction of thyroid hormone leading to diseases. So there will be actually two videos, one on the hypothalamic-pituitary-thyroid-axis together with the biosynthesis of thyroid hormone and iodine metabolism in one video. And then we'll have the second video mainly on the thyroid hormone receptors and their actions, and also those different kinds of thyroid function disorders, together with some case studies at the end of the second video. I must admit that the slides are rather complicated. I would go through this complicated metabolism of thyroid hormone and also thyroid actions and the diseases one by one. Okay, so in the first video we start with the history. The hypothalamic-pituitary-thyroid-axis, we first get to understand these French pharmacist Curtius, I'm not sure my pronunciation is correct, back into 1811 discovered that an iodine in human body. You know, we have all these chemicals known as the halogens. In Chinese called 老素 or 老族. So fluoride that we use to brush our teeth to get rid of those, to enhance the teeth strength. And also iodine, this is the second one, and then the third one is chloride. Okay, and also the bromides, those are the famous halogens. And you know, so at that time we were so surprised to learn that this metal, it's not a metal, it's this element could be found in our body. And then later on, more diseases, including goiter, actually is related to iodine deficiency. So that's the enlargement of the thyroid gland is known as goiter, found also linked together, and there were many malnutrition cases relating to iodine deficiency. So in those animals that we feed them on dried animal thyroid extracts, increased metabolic rate. The thyroid gland could easily be identified, like in human body we have the thyroid gland right in our necks. Okay, so the thyroid is later on found to have very high amount of iodinated substance, and then in 1918 Kendall found and purified this hormone known as thyroxine, X here, T4 is a major component of thyroid gland. This is a T4 with the structure like this with two benzyl ring linked with oxygen and then 4 iodine there. Okay, it's called thyroxine, and later on, of course, 1952, we realized that actually triiodothyronine, so there's an N here, T3 is the key or major hormone that with higher physiological potency than T4. You can see this T3 with 3 iodinations on the rings, and that treats with this special structure to bind to its receptor. With this, we may move on to the classical knowledge of the story. This is our head. We have in our head on top, that is the hypothalamus under the brain. And then we have the pituitary gland underneath the hypothalamus. So first we have the hypothalamus producing and secreting these Thyrotropin Releasing Hormone. Thyrotropin Releasing Hormone, known as TRH. Remember, releasing hormone is always from hypothalamus. Going down to the thyrotropes. Thyrotropes are those cells specified to produce thyrotropin or thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone is secreted by the activation from TRH on TRH receptor. Remember, TRH is thyrotropin releasing hormone, going to the thyrotrophs in the pituitary gland to stimulate the release and formation of thyroid stimulating hormone, or known as thyrotropin. Okay, so don't get confused on this. TRH, TSH go down to the thyroid gland, as I mentioned, underneath here, underneath the skin, over a butterfly shape on our neck, and that would be for the production of thyroid. Thyroid gland is here, would produce thyroids, T4, thyroxine, and also thyroglobulin, or triiodothyroid, T3. Okay, after the stimulation of this TSH, known as thyroid stimulating hormone or thyrotropin, go down to the thyroid gland through the action with the thyrotropin receptor, or TR or TSHR. Just to avoid the confusion, TR sometimes referred to thyroid hormone receptor, or TR. Okay, I don't want you to get confused, so we usually use TSHR, thyroid stimulating hormone receptor, or thyrotropin. Thyrotropin means thyroid stimulating, right? So there's a receptor for it. I will explain that a little bit later. Majority of the hormone make T4, 80%, and only 20% T3. And then T3 is actually 4 times more potent than T4. But then later on in other peripheral tissue, T4 would be converted into T3 by another enzyme known as deiodinase. Okay, so these are the 1, 2, and 3. 1 is from the hypothalamus, and then hypothalamus will produce this thyrotropin releasing hormone, or TRH. 2 is the thyrotrophs in the pituitary gland that will produce TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, known as thyrotropin. Okay, and then in the thyroid gland, the thyrotropin receptor, or TSHR, would send a signal of thyrotropin, TSH, to produce T4 and T3, but mainly T4 is produced. So let's go back and start from TRH, from the hypothalamus. The structure of the TRH, or thyrotropin releasing hormone. And this hormone is interesting that it has only 3 amino acids, with this very special structure of 5-oxyproline, or pyroglutamate. This is the pyroglutamate, and then a histidine in the middle, and then the C-terminal is amidated with NH2. With this is the proline structure. So TRH is this pyroglutamine, histidine, pyroamide. So all the gene encoding for it that will produce amino acids, or polypeptide of 255 amino acids that could be cleaved to form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of these small peptide. Okay, so this is called the pipo-TRH. Pipo-TRH. After cleavage, TRH would be released. One molecule could release 5 TRH. Okay, so 5 copies of TRH will come from after post-translational processing, or proteolytic cleavage. So what does it do, the TRH? TRH, of course, goes to the pituitary gland. Okay, on the pituitary gland, there's a receptor there. Again, it's G-protein coupled receptor, so that will stimulate adenocyclase, and then will also stimulate calcium signaling. that would bring about the release and synthesis of TSH, Thyroid Stimulating Hormone. Remember that a thyroid stimulating hormone consists of alpha chain and beta chain. Alpha chain is a homogeneous one, and the beta chain is a special one mainly for thyroid hormone. So that is thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. So the action of TRH on TSH synthesis and secretion in the pituitary gland is in this one graph. So this TSH would come out because it has the alpha subunit. This is the ribbon of the white color, and then the dark color is the beta subunit. Would bind to its receptor, RNA receptor, or TSHR, thyroid stimulating hormone receptor. It's a member of glycoprotein hormone receptor, but this one is the largest one. It's a huge one. It's again also a 7 transmembrane domain, G protein coupled receptors, and it has a very special and unique feature known as LRR for ligand binding. So this is the leucine-rich repeats. So these are the leucines repeat with 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that is this domain here, causing some of the trouble. Later on we talk about hyperthyroidism. That is because our own antibody would recognize this as very special protein and go to attack it. Okay, coming back to here, that's a co-evolution of TSH and TSHR. The beta subunit is for specificity, or what we call receptor recognition, to recognize this receptor. And then the alpha subunit is for receptor activation, because it would act on the G protein coupled receptor, the extracellular domain here, outside of the 7 repeats, and then cell transduction would go on inside the cell. So we appreciate this very special hormone receptor, this LRR, or leucine-rich repeats, 9 of them here, very bulky structure, accommodating the beta subunit and also the alpha subunit, is for the activation of the G protein coupled receptors. So after that, we have to see what's going on for the biosynthesis of thyroid hormone. So this is a cross section of our thyroid gland. So our thyroid gland is here, a butterfly-shaped structure, okay, on the neck here, underneath the skin, and then I always touch up on here, you know, because I'm always hungry. I always want to eat, and then I talk to my doctor. Say, oh, this is only your salivary gland. No, don't mix up your salivary gland. It's up here, okay, not over the neck. The neck is here, so this is the thyroid gland here. When you do a cross section, you will find a lot of interesting structure. Some of them are very huge. This is like a colloid. We call them colloid. So that's what we call the thyroid colloid. And you can see this is a big cavity. Sometimes could be as big as 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter is close to a fingertip, okay, size. So that is very huge structure. So what's going on inside there? Well, inside there it contains a lot of protein known as thyroglobulin, TG, thyroglobulin. And then you can see these are all these different cells surrounding the colloids. And then we take a look at these cells and see what do they do. Now this is the thyroid follicular epithelium cell. That's what we have explained, these cells. So one side is in the colloid, this is a side in the colloid. Another side is from the capillary. So we learn about in this slide iodine metabolism. So we absorb iodine, okay, in ionic form, and then using this enzyme known as peroxidase to convert it into I2. Now this iodine could also be recovered from removing iodine. We call it deiodinase. Okay, removing from what? From the recycled material of MIT and DIT. So what are MIT and DIT? They are M mean monoiodotyrosine. DIT is 3,5-diiodotyrosine. Where do they come from? This iodine would be exocytosed from the cell into the colloid. Remember I said that inside the colloid it contains a lot of thyroglobulin. This is the protein. So the protein is inside there, and then the metabolism will take place here, iodination will take place here. To take place where? In the thyroglobulin, inside the protein, there are tyrosine. Okay? And that is for the formation of T3 and T4 from the thyroglobulin, which is a huge protein. So that huge protein, thyroglobulin, and then would be iodinated, and then we have this coupling effects to form T3 and T4, or mainly T4. And then inside the cell, we undergo endocytosis. You know, endocytosis, the enzymes will go into the engulfed vesicles and then digest this protein, clip them into amino acid one by one, and that's how we produce T3 and T4. And then T3 and T4 will go into the capillary in our bloodstream. And these are the hormones being produced from the thyroid follicular epithelium cells outside of the colloid. But inside the colloid, a very important step is taking place here. That is for the coupling. So what is coupling? Coupling is about the addition of iodine. We call it iodination, number one. After that, these are the tyrosines on this thyroglobulin protein. Coupling means that by moving this one ring structure, so after iodination, we need to do this coupling to add this ring structure on top of this hydroxyl group here linking with this oxygen. By doing so, then we can have the coupling effects, and then you can see there that this is DIT, okay, diiodotyrosine. When two join together, that is T4, and then T4 is tyrosine, and then this is also known as tetraiodothyroline in this structure. We need an enzyme known as T4 deiodinase. Deiodinase to clip out this iodine, forming a more active thyroid hormone known as T3, triiodothyroline. Okay, and so these deiodinase also contain a very special amino acid known as selenocysteine. So it's a cysteine residue actually grabbing or containing an element known as selenium. Okay, so it's a new type of amino acids being found around 30-40 years ago. Alright, so with this, we appreciate the structure of these tyrosines inside this protein in the colloid known as thyroglobulin. Okay, so tyrosines inside this is the purple part is the thyroglobulin. And this thyroglobulin would have a lot of tyrosine after iodination, and then it is iodination and then coupling to T1, T2 forming T4. Some T4 will be converted into T3, and at the same time after endocytosis in the follicular cells, and that is under the stimulation of, like, for example, sodium iodine symbol, which is a very important ion transporter, transporting sodium and iodine inside the cell and also into the colloid for this iodination and coupling. And then another important membrane proteins, of course, is sodium potassium ATPase, which is to remove sodium and balancing back with potassium. that is to remove the extra sodium out from the cell. The whole thing is actually under the control of, remember, thyrotropin or thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, stimulate on the receptor, bring about adenocyclase and also calcium signaling to facilitate or to control or to activate this process. Okay, and then in the endocytosis pathway, okay, here the exopeptidase could remove those unused or recycled material back into this pathway, cycling back and forth, synthesizing thyroglobulin. So the major job of this apical membrane here going in this direction, and the major job of these follicular cells on the outside of the colloid. The colloid, of course, is a huge part. And then this is the cell. The basolateral membrane, we have these transporters to bring in by sodium iodine symbol, to bring in iodine into these iodination steps for the colloid to produce iodinated MIT and DIT, following with coupling effect, and then producing T4 and T3. So keep recycling. All these steps are activated by TSH or thyrotropin, thyroid stimulating hormone. That is for the production of T3 and T4. You go out, recycling AMP. There's an enzyme here called pendrin to move in iodine and then move into the thyroid peroxidase, or sometimes known as iodinase, to produce T3, and then endocytosis. And then after this endosome, removing all those materials but covering T3 and T4 from the protein of thyroglobulin. That's for the production, and the whole thing is controlled by TSH or stimulated by TSH. Okay, so after that we have a larger picture from the hypothalamus, and then the TRH, Thyrotropin Releasing Hormone, going to the pituitary gland to stimulate the production of thyrotropin, which is also known as Thyroid Stimulating Hormone, TSH. So TSH go in the thyroid gland to produce T3 and T4. And T3 and T4 will go into the blood circulation to go around in the body. How do we get rid of T3 and T4? In the liver, we have the drug metabolizing enzymes, including UDP-GT and cytochrome P450, that would remove for taking T3 and T4 and then remove them from our bile. From the bile, going into our gut and then excretion out. Same thing is true here in the target tissues. Peripheral tissues, we have deiodinases that would convert T4 and T3, and then T4 and T3 go into the thyroid hormone sensitive cells or the target cells. And then these are the steps. You pay attention in this slide. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are the summary. Sodium iodine symbol is the 1 here to bring in iodine. Serum binding transporter protein 2 that would grab this T3 and T4, meaning that normally T4, T4, and T3 would be bound with this protein, serum binding transporter proteins. And then also number 3, thyroid hormone receptors, many of them, including this beta, and also in here, the normal thyroid receptors. And then TR gene activation is in here, and TR gene, that for the thyroid hormone receptor to activate this TR gene. And then 5, we have these deiodinases that would convert T4 to T3 activated, and also actually would be converted into T2 as well. And then metabolism of thyroid hormone is in the liver, and that's how we may get rid of this hormone from the bile going out to the body by excretion, okay, that go into the gut. So after digestion, all the way out. Okay. So let's take a look at this table, also rather complicated, showing the concentrations in molar concentrations or concentrations in picogram per ml. And then you can see, as I mentioned, because the proteins in the serum are binding this T3 and T4 and bringing this hormone into the different parts of the body. So the total T4, total mean all the T4, and then majority of them actually are not 3. You can see the concentration. This is 10 minus 7. This is 10 minus 11. Okay, these are the 3 T4. Concentrations are like 7 to 8,000 picogram, and then only 23 picogram per ml. And then total thyroid T3, and also free T3 you can see again. And the majority of the T3 are not free, they are bound with this binding globulin. Okay, this is the amount of this globulin, minus 11, this is minus 9. Some of them actually are diiodine, these are T2. T2 are also in reasonably comparable concentrations with T3, and this is in our serum. In other words, when we detect these hormones, we have to acidify these serum sample to remove the binding protein in order to get what we call the total concentration. If you do not do this step, you may get those what we call free T3 or free T4, okay, or the T2. T2 is not bound in the protein. Okay, we have developed specific antibodies made against T3 and T4. So we may use antibody or other means to detect T3 and T4. But these are very important concepts that we have to rely on the detection of this hormone to detect the different levels of T3 and T4 or free T3 or free T4. And then we will know whether our thyroid hormone level is normal, below, we call it hypothyroidism, or higher than normal hyperthyroidism, because these diagnoses are related to or trying to decide what kind of thyroid hormone diseases that the patients would have. And then, yeah, we also have like T3 percentage in this next slide, T4 percentage in T3 in plasma, and then T4 in plasma concentrations. These are what we call the free hormone concentration. Thyroxine binding globulin, you can see this is T3, T4 bound with this what we call TPG or thyroxine binding globulin. Okay, sometimes you can see also they are bound with albumin, a very common protein in our serum. And then thyroxine binding P-albumin or TP8. So these are different proteins. 8% of them actually are with T3, 8 of them are with 8% of them are with this protein, but majority of them are with this thyroxine binding globulin. So even though they are called thyroxine binding globulin, T3 could also bind with it. Okay, and then some of them are with albumin. Okay, so these are the concentrations. This is the total concentration, 1 to 3 nanomolar per liter. And then free hormones are only at picomolar concentration. All right. So these are figures that we have to be, we have to be able to identify in order to call these diseases. In the next video, we'll talk more about those actions of thyroid hormone and diseases. With this one, I would like to finish this video one. This multiple choice questions with 5 answers. Which one of the following statements of iodine, metabolism, and thyroid synthesis is false? Thyroxine residues in thyroglobulin are iodinated to form thyroxine or thyroglin, T3 and T4. The thyroid follicle epithelial cells are responsible for the release of T4 and T3 into the circulation. T4 is further converted to T3 by deiodinase. T3 is less potent than T4. T3 and T4 are bound with binding proteins in the circulation in the bloodstream. So obviously D is incorrect or false, right? Because T3 is actually 4 times more potent than T4. Okay, with this, bye-bye. We go to the next video.